The only station that shines the light on the paranormal. Paramania Radio.
Every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, Russ Stiver shares tales of an investigator and talks about investigating the paranormal in depth. Please join us for Attery's Drain.
Do you like old-time radio? Then join Paramania Radio each week as we present episodes of old broadcast radio programs from the past filled with mystery, suspense, drama, and the supernatural. Join us every Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern for Old Time Radio.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Paramania, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
We're staying alive with Heather Horton of IndigoLifeDesigns.com.
Since I was born, it's alright.
You're listening to the Heather Horton Hour, right here on Paramania Radio.
Good evening. You are listening to the Heather Horton Hour right here on Paramania Radio. I'm your host, Heather Horton, Big Mouth Sagittarius, stubborn Taurus moon, and a very stern Capricorn rising over here. I've got a special guest coming on from the West Coast this evening. We have Terri Plewa coming on the program. She is also an astrologer, oracle card reader, energy worker, and overall fantastic coach. So I'm super excited to bring her on. I believe we're also going to take callers at the half. So jot this number down if you decide you want to call in. The number is 919-295-0150. That's 919-295-0150. And to get a look at this gorgeous woman, go to my website at www.indigolifedesigns.com. I wasn't talking about myself. I was talking about Terri. Go to that website, click on radio show. That page, there's this beautiful picture of her. If you click on the picture, they'll shoot you over to her website. Her website is terriplewa.com, TerriPlewa.com. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring her on now. Terri, are you on?
I sure am here. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Terri. Thank you for coming on my show.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. You're and
Nice.
you're pulling this live show from the West Coast, aren't you?
I sure am in Olympia, Washington.
Nice. What is it that you specifically do out there?
What do I do out here?
Well, other than like live and breathe and eat and enjoy.
Basically it, I've really been focusing on following the energy of the now. That's like the new paradigm, what we're heading into, what we're all moving into. And it's really exciting to live that way. And we kind of move into the unknown, but magical things happen. So I do that, and I help people with that, using all different kinds of tools, basically energy interpretation of all different kinds, astrology, of course, which we both love, and I do intuitive energy work, and also I'm a writer, so
Nice.
Channeling energy.
You call yourself the superpower coach, and I love that.
Oh, thanks. I'm getting away from that a little bit. My work has really been evolving in the past couple of years. I've taken on a little bit more humility, but hey, what the heck? It's all still there, right?
Unfortunately, branding works. And
I have a Leo South Node, all right?
Oh, okay. We're gonna totally give that to you then. So, you know what I want to I want to bring up, other than the fact that you're a fantastic Aquarian, and I am a big fan of yours just through Facebook alone, let alone the work you're currently doing in the now. Um, is I want to talk about what's going on with the planets right now, and I think between you and I, we can educate some people on
Yeah.
what's going on astrologically. And we just had a full moon in Virgo.
Hmm.
I put up a post about a shooting at a psychiatric ward. I
Oh,
don't
dear.
laugh. It's
That
not
makes sense.
actual. Yeah, it's not actually comical, but I mean, wow, right?
Yeah,
So,
that fits the symbolism.
absolutely. And now we're in the shadow period of Mercury going retrograde. Can you explain for all of us what that means?
I can to a certain extent. I'll tell you about myself as an astrologer. I'm really more into like the myth and the interpretation of it, the math and like the science of it. I'm not as good at explaining specifically, but most people don't really want to know that anyway. So, but what we're moving into here is the Mercury retrograde period, which will actually start on March 12th. And that is a time when Mercury appears to go backwards in the sky for all these scientific reasons that I don't get. And if you want to explain it, you can. But it just appears to go backwards in the sky. And what that does, because of the law of resonance and the law of attraction and everything else, is that makes our communications appear to go backwards or miss things or make things difficult on all different levels in a very interesting way. So that's starting March 12th. Most people who know any astrology whatsoever, it's one of the first things we learn because it's so impacting to our lives because everything we do is communicating, whether it's verbally, person to person, or within our machines, computers, travel, phones, cars. All of that gets impacted when we have a Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, my grandmother is highly how do I want to put this in the nicest way possible, has watched soap operas every day of her life for as long as soap operas have, like before television, seriously.
Oh,
And
bless
she
her.
decided to ask me, what does Mercury retrograde mean, because apparently they must refer to that on her soap opera.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Right.
I gotta watch that show. What's Granny mentioned?
Oh, it was so cute too, and yeah, you could just see her looking at me and being like,
Yeah.
"Wow, that was more information than she was ready for," but super cute,
Oh my gosh.
right? Anyway,
cute. Yeah.
you said two terms that I would like to get into, and you said the law of resonance and of
Yeah.
attraction.
I think I just made that up, but okay.
Hey, on this show, anything can be said. Well, to my producer's going to shake his head no at me. Some things can be said. Go for it.
Okay.
Explain
Law
that.
of resonance. What I meant? Well, basically, everything is energy, and everything resonates with each other. So law of attraction is basically the same as law of resonance, and astrology is all based on resonance, like attracts like, and we can read the symbols because of that, because the energy of the planet is similar to what we're experiencing. Not that the planets are causing what we're experiencing. That's not the way I believe it. Different people can believe different things, but that there's kind of a larger energy going on that we and the planets are experiencing together, and we can read what's happening if we know how those symbols work, because they are resonating with each other. They're vibrating the same, basically. Does that explain it?
I absolutely agree with your perspective. I practice similar with my clients. I'm less mathematical. I'm more psychological in nature. Obviously, that's the thing about astrology. We need every aspect to tie it all together. We need math. We need science. We need
It's
art. We need
crazy.
psychology. We need
I
all of
know.
it. This is the one subject matter that ties everything all together.
It's so brilliant, astrology.
It is, and it blows my
I love
mind that it's not a requirement of us to be educated on this, and there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was funny. I was at a gathering last night that was law of attraction and astrology themed, and people were asking me how I learned it. And now I've been studying astrology since I was probably in high school off and on, or maybe even before. And that's because I would dip into it and I'd get overwhelmed and I'd dip back out. I would dip into it and I'd get overwhelmed and I'd dip back out, because it does have the potential to be such a vast array of information and energy. And it's, you know, it's the Tower of Babel, basically, because everybody thinks something different about it, and somehow it all works.
Right, right. And there's no one can possibly learn everything there is to know
Right.
under the umbrella of astrology in a lifetime. It's not possible. And more, it's subject matter that needs more attention, especially from youth. We need to keep it carried on to keep. So I love that you are on the program and sharing your knowledge with us and letting people in your neck of the woods know that you're available. You do private. What are your services that you offer?
Well, I usually work via phone or Skype, and it's been evolving. I used to do more like give me your stats and I'll make you a recording, but lately I've done more direct one-on-one via Skype or phone. And I sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I don't always do astrology because it's all energy work, and sometimes there is actually faster ways to get at what people are having an issue with, you know? There's like,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, keep going.
So what I do is, you know, I really just, I get into my divine space and I get on the line with someone and I say, what's going on? You know, what's happening? What's the issue? And when they start telling me, then I just get a feeling of where I want to go. Sometimes I say, give me your stats. Sometimes it's obvious that there's a quicker way to deal with it, you know, like let's breathe or let's do energy work or whatever it is. It's all energy. And there's maps everywhere. Astrology is one map. It's so much fun. It's so brilliant with all the myth and story and everything. But, you know, I believe the universe is so benevolent. Everything is telling us everything, you know. It's like the map can be, people can read faces, people can read poems, people can read the stars, people can read tea leaves, people can pick it up on the radio, you know.
Oh, there's so many awesome rabbit holes. I love it.
Yeah, it's just whatever you're drawn to. And I love it when people are drawn to astrology because it can be so detailed and it can be such an aha moment for people. You know, we already know all of it. We already feel all of it. But then when I come along or you come along and you give someone words to it, they go, oh, yeah. And they can relax into whatever it is that's going on with them. And that's all they need.
It's true.
You know, is to accept what's happening. So I think for me that's one of the biggest gifts of astrology is acceptance and making the most of that energy. You know, that's another brilliant thing that astrology teaches. There's like kind of a range of how you can use the energy that's coming through depending on what's going on, you know?
Absolutely.
Like if it's a Neptunian thing, you could devote yourself to Krishna or you could devote yourself to a bottle, you know?
Depending on what end of the spectrum you want to be on.
Exactly.
Absolutely get that. And
So I didn't really talk about Mercury. I didn't really talk about Mercury retrograde, though. We got sidetracked. Should we go back to that?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So the Mercury retrograde period is starting March 12th, and we're already feeling it because everything with astrology is gradual. It builds up, and then it goes back. It kind of builds up a mountain, goes down, that sort of thing. So we're already feeling it. We're in a period that astrologers call the shadow. But from March 12th to April 5th is the retrograde period. And one thing, even if people know some basic astrology, like, you know, your granny, and they hear about it on Days of Our Lives or whatever, people can get very fearful of Mercury retrograde. And I just encourage people to relax and take the time to be patient, take the time to relax. Anything that starts with read, reread, redo, remember, remind, re-meet, all of that stuff is great to have happen during Mercury retrograde. You don't generally want to start something super new in Mercury retrograde, just because there can be complications because of the tendency for there to be a miscommunication. I mean, people that we communicate with every day very well, sometimes we just can't anymore. I mean, couples have a hard time during Mercury retrograde because suddenly the synapses are not connecting, you know. So it's so helpful, I think, to know what's going on because for me, as an astrologer, when this is going on, I kind of watch it and I just go, okay, this is Mercury retrograde. And I don't get mad and I don't get upset and I don't blame the other person. I just kind of laugh and keep my sense of humor and be a little more patient and move on.
Many of my electronics, Terry, have been saved by the mercy of the knowledge of the Mercury retrograde.
Yes. Are you a Sagittarius that likes to use pounding for fixing?
Oh yeah, of course. Isn't that how it's supposed to happen?
I was married to a Sagittarius, so I know.
I mean, there comes a point where just sometimes a good knock on the top of something fixes things.
That's true.
It didn't work for my ex-husband, but
that didn't work out.
That didn't work. So it didn't fix it.
But I mean, I guess I encourage people not to be intimidated by it or not to be fearful of it. Just understand that it's a natural cycle, and everything that happens, every pattern that happens, is for our own good. It's all benevolent. It's all the heavens and the divine way of loving us. Sometimes we need to take a breather and kind of step back and relax a little bit. So it's a good time to do that from now until April 5th, basically, in the Mercury retrograde period. And the one thing else that I like to tell people, because I find this very comforting, is a lot of times something is happening and you think it's going to be really awful, and you can tell me if you've noticed this too, Heather, and then it's not as bad. It's like, oh my God, my car broke down and I don't know what's wrong with it. And we took it into the shop and, we're probably going to have it totally rebuilt. And you end up having it in the shop maybe for 5 days and it's a big pain, but then you find out, it only cost you $200. You know?
Or mechanics make a killing during or post Mercury retrograde.
But it's like I often find that it ends up not being as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's like it all works out. It ends up maybe costing you a little money and some time, but in the end, it's never as awful as you think it's going to be. Have you noticed that experience?
And that's my argument with not doing predictive work, because I don't want to program someone for something that they may interpret or perceive as potentially scary when it really could just be a flat tire.
Right.
And I mean that on all aspects of life, not just specifically to Mercury. I mean, we all go through, as you know, challenging points in life.
Yes.
You know, the Saturn return is a great example of that. Probably the quickest and easiest example of that around the 29, 30 age, coming into adulthood. And, so I think it's important that we're aware of the transits and experiences. And from what I study on my end with psychology, these patterns, these cycles are supported from a psychological study, not just from an astrological study. So it's important that we know what we're about to go through or going through. We can, like you said, work with the energy of the frequencies based off those planetary alignments and maybe guide it in a way that life isn't as painful.
Right.
It's not an easy place, this third dimension.
Yeah, see, and that's why, like I said, for me, the shortcut is always, accept what is.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with a guy last night at this event, and he was telling me his,
Was he handsome?
He is handsome.
Sorry, my brain just goes there instantly. Okay, continue.
Yeah, he was very handsome. But, he was telling me about his heartbreak and how, he kind of still wanted to be with this woman, but she didn't really want to be with him, and he didn't know what to do. And I was like, well, what are you going to do?
Right.
I mean, I basically told him, you don't look like a rapist, so you don't really have much choice.
I mean, yeah, what are you going to do? So, and that goes
You don't
into
need astrology for that.
that goes into ego gratification.
And
And
yet, when we look at the chart, then we get so much more information, and we get a lot of aha moments. I believe everything is a paradox. So it's
there
like, in a
is.
sense,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you don't need it, but then in another sense, it's like when I feel drawn to look at it, it's like, wow, I get so much information and just like so much good stuff out of it that I love it.
Me too. How often do you look at personal transits for yourself?
For myself,
Mm-hmm.
that's funny. I was just talking to someone about that last night. I hardly ever. Sometimes my astrologer friends will ask me, and I'll be like, oh, I never thought to even look at it, I mean, I kind of know the biggies. Like, I recently just went through Neptune going over my IC, and I was watching that an awful lot.
What happened?
That was massive.
First of all, explain for people.
Yeah. We don't want to go there.
Explain for people the potentials of a Neptune transit, and then what the IC is, and then what you personally experienced.
Okay. Well, Neptune, I find my very shortest cut that I use when talking with clients about Neptune is surrender. When Neptune comes, be surrender. Neptune is the ocean. You have to float. You can't fight it. If you fight it, you drown, right? So when Neptune comes, the outer planets, anything from Uranus on out, is an outer planet. We often experience those transits as if we don't have control. Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background. It doesn't feel like we have control, but we always have control over our response to what's going on.
I'm about to make you answer that call and bring them on the line. You are on the radio, and they're gonna right now. Why are they not listening to you?
This is my mom's friend out of Milwaukee. So with Neptune, I mean, like my favorite example to talk about a Neptune transit is actually when my son was born, who happens to be a Pisces, which is Neptune ruled, right? And I have Neptune on the 5th house of children, so it all made sense. But, you go in with this birth plan, and birth by its very nature you can't control. But I could not control a darn thing related to that child's birth. And there were drugs, and there was surgery, and, it was like I had to surrender. And a hospital, had to surrender to everything very Neptunian there. So that was like that experience of surrender. So I kind of knew that was when Neptune was on my son, S-U-N. I had my son, S-O-N. But so that's kind of in general, like that's my hallmark for a Neptune transit. But that was impacting myself, my body a lot. When it goes over my IC, which is a point in your chart, it's the 4th house cusp.
And what's the 4th house?
I was just going to get there.
Okay.
The 4th house rules, like your home, your family, your deepest roots. They say sometimes usually people would say mother, I would think, but sometimes people say it's father. Have you heard that people go, it can be mother
I've
or
heard
father?
both. I've heard both arguments. I personally stick with the sun and the moon for mother and father.
Yeah. Well, it was all, for me, it's interesting. It was all related because as I just kind of let slip, my mother lives with me, and so we've been undergoing major change in my family. I've had to surrender. My family that I've created, I recently underwent the split up with my husband, so that changed my family. My stepson moved back to live with his mom. He lives with us most of the time, so that was like I had to surrender to that. It was all related to Neptune on my IC. We didn't know what we were going to do with this house that we all live in. I had to surrender to maybe we're going to get rid of it, maybe we're not. Can we sell it? Can we not? Plus, it's falling apart, okay? It's like falling into the sea, basically. Like everything is decaying in the house. I was just like waiting for Neptune to cross that point so that I could hopefully start to rebuild, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question that pertains to this, because Neptune's also known for fogginess and confusion. What was that the sensation, or what, or was it a different? Was it confusion during all this time as this was happening, or what? I mean,
well, different people are going to relate differently with Neptune.
Okay.
Right? So, like, I can deal fairly well with the Neptune transit because my Venus is in Pisces and I'm familiar with it and I love the spiritual thing. So yes, there was a lot of surrender. There was a lot of sitting around and chanting. There was a lot of meditating. There was a lot of going into the ethers. And that's fine for me. Occasionally there was wine. Neptune also rules wine, movies, any kind of escapism. For me, I'm very comfortable there because of who I am, because I have a lot of Scorpio and I have that Venus in Pisces. Someone who has a very different chart, someone who's very Capricornian or Virgo, would have a harder time, I would guess, with having that much Neptune in their life. That's why you can't even just interpret a transit out of context because it doesn't make any sense. Like everybody's going to experience it different according to who they are.
Right. And so this is where I can interject and make clear for more mainstream listeners that say, oh, well, it's a generalization. Yeah, when you're reading about your sun sign, it is a generalization. It's an ego generalization. And to an extent, it does work. It does bring some ego gratification when you read the description. Those in denial will disagree with me. But then when we get deeper into things and into the rest of the planets and their archetypes and the myths behind them and how they play out in the psyche, it becomes this very rich and colorful experience that brings about such an amazing self-acceptance. I know that that's what happened for me. All of a sudden, everything that maybe society or peers or whomever had, I had allowed them to bring about thoughts of insecurity or what have you, that you're not matching up to the societal norms. The societal norms are the best way to please people anyway, keep each other in check. With this kind of knowledge, again, for me, and you said it earlier in the show, it's acceptance. And so I encourage anyone, if you're listening, we kind of got into this whole conversation, and I want to let listeners know you can call in and speak with Terri and I tonight at 919-295-0150, 919-295-0150. If you go to my website, that's www.indigolifedesigns.com. Click on the radio show page. There is a gorgeous picture of Terri there. Click on that. They'll shoot you over to her website, which is gorgeous, by the way. I love all the green and the crisp color and the way
I'm totally redoing it soon.
Of course. Everything I like, you're just gonna change it all up.
I know. That's so 2010, Heather.
Oh my gosh, it is so 2010. Oh my God, speaking of, it's 2012. So
I know we're like at the end of the world here.
What do you want to do at the break? Would you like to take callers? Would you like to keep talking? You want to look at my chart? You want to think about it?
Have callers arrived?
Well, we'll find out at the half.
Because, if callers arrive, then I would take them. That's kind of how I work with, I belong to what shows up. I'm kind of surrendered as a divine servant of the universe. So, I go with the flow.
Okay, well,
but
how about
things I could talk about, too.
Okay, how about we do this? How about after the break, we will put the offer out there to accept callers. So, and I'll give you guys that number one more time. That's 919. And if you're going to get in the queue, do it now. 919-295-0150. Otherwise, I think I'm going to twist Terri's arm and make her do a little energy reading for me.
Oh, okay, yeah. And if people call, if I feel like astrology isn't the way to go, I might take you a different direction.
Well, you can take me any crazy direction you'd like.
Okay.
On that note, we'll be back in about 5 minutes on the Heather Horton Hour.
The Heather Horton Hour will be right back in just a few moments.
Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, Russ Stiver shares tales of an investigator and talks about investigating the paranormal in depth. Please join us for Batteries Drained.
If you have a comment or question, then please call in now. In the U.S., call 919-295-0150. UK listeners can call 076-240-82877. You can also call in using Skype to Paramania Radio or Google Talk to paramaniaradio@gmail.com. And lastly, you can use the phone icon above the chat box to call directly from your computer.
You are listening to Paramania Radio. You are listening to Paramania Radio. Call in now.
Now return to the Heather Horton Hour with your host, Heather Horton.
Hey, welcome back to the Heather Horton Hour right here on Paramania Radio. I'm your host, Heather Horton, Big Mouth Sagittarius, and my special guest tonight is the interesting, intellectual, quirky, unique Terri Plewa. Hello, Terri, you still with us?
Hey, Heather, I'm here.
I had to hit the Aquarius up with the quirky. I mean, right?
I'm cool with that.
Awesome. All right, I
own it.
Good. I love that you own it. I own the big mouth Sag thing. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, you have Mars right next to your sun too. So
yeah. Oh, you have my chart up, don't you?
I do. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, anyone that would like to call in, maybe have Terri and I both take a quick look at your charts, call this number.
That would be fun. I don't know if I've ever read a chart with another astrologer like that, I guess.
See, here we go. Well, then they need to be calling in and getting into the hold queue. I know we've got callers already, so if you want to get in at the last minute, it's 919-295-0150. Also, you can go to indigolifedesigns.com, click on the radio show tab. Gorgeous picture of this quirky Aquarian Terri right there. Click on her picture. They'll shoot you over to her website so you can see her many talents and services offered. And you work by donation, don't you?
I have been, yeah. That was something I started doing in November. It's been really fascinating.
I like that. Well, why don't you fan my fire ego and tell me all about me?
Beautiful, darling. Well, what do you have any specific question or something you would want me to zone in on? Because
whatever jumps out at you.
I could talk about you forever, darling. We don't have that much time. You have a lot of little stelliums going on, which for those in the audience who don't know, that means that she's got energy consolidated in certain areas. Like that's usually 3 or more planets or points together. So you are the big mouth Sagittarius.
Absolutely.
And it's so beautiful that you're in radio. So looking at your sun, I already mentioned that Mars is right next to it. So that gives you even more fire. You're like super duper fiery. And you've got like that assertiveness and a little bit of a masculine quality about you there in your sun, which is like your ego, your creativity, how you shine. And then on the other side of your sun, you've got Neptune right there, which gives you that interest in spirituality and a little bit more softness and more of an interest in learning about diffusing into everything and losing all boundaries. So that's a pretty interesting combination you got going on there.
It is living it. Living it's quite interesting.
Yeah, and then let's see, what I love about it too is, are you still in Ohio? Where do you live now?
I am.
You are? Okay, because this specific stellium, this one little part of her beautiful chart here, is in the 11th house, which rules like media and larger social networks and astrology. So that's all really perfect for exactly what you're doing. You knew this already, yes?
Oh, no? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you knew this.
To hear other people say it, it's...
Yeah, it's such good confirmation. And then you've got that Saturn coming at your Neptune. That's so beautiful. You have a trine element from Saturn to your Neptune. And and Pluto's involved there too. Wow. Wow. So what that's giving you, related all to your sun, I could just interpret your sun the whole time, is that real strong depth from Pluto. And then Saturn is giving you a little bit more structure, a little bit more discipline, but in a really fun way because it's coming at you from Leo, right?
Right.
And Saturn and Neptune can be kind of funky together, I think, because Neptune is about no boundaries and Saturn is all about boundaries. However, there's such a beautiful way that they can work together in, Neptune being about dreams and Saturn being about reality. You can use Saturn to bring your dreams into reality there.
Which I am currently doing by all you lovely listeners listening to the Heather Horton Hour right here, Friday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. Terry, you are so awesome. I love that. And that's just me being silly. I think we're going to take a caller. Are you ready?
I'm ready for anything.
All right, let's take a caller. I think we've got Cheryl coming on the line. Is Cheryl on the line? Cheryl? Is she there?
To astrologers?
Are you live? Why can't we hear her, David? I know you're You said she's live. Cheryl. Hello? Hello? Okay. Cheryl's not there, David.
Such a tease.
All right, Julie. We're bringing Julie on. Sorry, Cheryl. Call back and come back on the line when you can. Julie. Julie, are you live? Oh, here she comes. She's like being escorted in by David.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Julie, are you on the line? Hello?
Hello?
I hear
Sorry,
dogs.
I'm at my home office and the doorbell just rang.
Well, perfect. I would be yelling at those people too for not being home listening to you on air live right now. All right. Well,
no, it's exciting. This is all very Mercury retrograde.
This is
like point that out. This is life happening.
That is awesome.
The callers aren't there, but people are at my door. The dog is barking. My mom isn't moving fast enough to manage it.
Yeah, this is
And I was going to be upstairs. I wanted to do this upstairs where there wouldn't be any of this action down here, but there were people using chainsaws across the street.
Nice.
It's all very Mercury retrograde, but no one will die. It's fine.
All right. Well, David, you let me know, dear, when we can populate them back in, because we seem to be having Mercury retrograde technical difficulties on our end. So I apologize for that. Hopefully it's slightly entertaining. Anyway, go back to me.
Yeah, I was interested in you anyway, so I was just getting going there. Okay, let me bring your chart up again here. You have so much Scorpio Taurus energy, and that's just really fascinating to me, especially because those are where your north and your south nodes of the moons are, of the moon. That I think is one of the most fascinating parts of a chart, and one thing that I work with people on a lot is people want to know, especially at this point in history, what their path is, what's going to be fulfilling to them, what their real dharma is, what their work is, what their quote-unquote fate is, which is tricky to get into because I don't really believe in fate. I don't believe anything is predetermined. But the nodes of the moon tell us where we come from as a soul and where we have chosen to go in this lifetime in order to evolve. Does that sound about right to you, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because some people interpret it a little differently. So I find it a really, really fascinating part of the chart. So when we look at yours, you have your south node in Taurus and your north node in Scorpio. These points are always exactly opposite each other. So it's like a continuum of energy. It's two sides of the same coin. And it's cute. I love cute astrology. It's cute. That your moon is right next to your south node in Taurus. So that gives you kind of a double aspect of where you're coming from is a very Taurian energy, a very Taurus, earthy place. And some people will think that's your past life. Some people will just think it's your childhood, your family life. For you specifically, it's going to be related to your family and home because it's right inside your fourth house of home, like we already talked about my fourth house earlier in the show. Your fourth house of home and mom. And then you've got the moon right next to it. So that's, again, home, family, mom, all in the fourth house. All that stuff would be very natural to you in a way. Does that feel like it is natural to you? The home, the family, the mom, the
Are you ready for this? I love this.
What?
My mother and I have only lived more than an hour apart from each other. I think my first 2 years of college when I went off to North Carolina. Ever since then, we talk almost every day. I don't go. I shouldn't say I don't go a day without talking to my mother. There have been times when we have, but yes, her and I are very, very close. We always have been. She's the sweetest thing ever. Hi, Mama.
Well, and you've
Also,
got Chiron within 10 degrees, too, so she's like a mentor for you.
She can be, yeah. Yeah.
And occasionally a wound. Maybe we shouldn't bring that up if she's listening.
Well, in the Taurus energy, no, my mom is amazing. I am so blessed to have had the mother I have and how kind and sweet. And you'll appreciate this. You know, she's a small town farm girl. So there's the Taurus.
Yeah, it's the earth.
Yeah, so and you know, with Taurus being Venus ruled and about beauty and possessions and finer things, she's a pageant, former pageant queen, dresses very elegantly. So she is a quirky Aquarian, and she's a mad scientist. That woman's an inventor, and I'm very, very proud of her.
Awesome. Well,
Yes,
see, Uranus is opposite that your moon too, so that shows right there your mom, the Aquarius.
Absolutely. So
cute.
Yeah, she just got her U.S. and Canadian patent on her product. So I will be promoting that in the coming weeks as we get the website launched and everything. So keep your eyes peeled for that if you follow me on Facebook. And it's just everything seems so exciting. Do you want to continue with my chart? I think we've got Julie back. You want to talk to Julie real quick? Let's bring her on. Julie, are you on?
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, I actually never left you guys. It was Mercury retrograde stuff, I guess.
So we just couldn't hear you, huh?
Yeah, it was weird. Hi, nice to meet everybody.
Nice to
meet you.
Where are you calling us from?
I am actually calling from Philadelphia. I'm Elsa Hernandez's friend from Philly. I don't know if you're
Elsa,
your friend Elsa.
Yes, Elsa was my very first guest when I moved over to Paramania Radio Network. So
yes,
that show is archived for anyone. She big time. She's very mercurial, Terry. She's got she is Gemini with Virgo rising, and she is into symbology and in etymology, and it was fascinating, that program. So that's definitely worth an on-demand listen. So just go over to paramaniaradio.com, go to the on-demand tab, find Heather Horton Hour, and you'll find Elsa down there. So can we get your birth info?
Absolutely. I was born September 13th, 1964 in Philadelphia at 10:59 a.m.
10:59 a.m., not p.m., Heather. A.m. in Philly. Oh, it jumped right back to p.m. again. Mercury.
Isn't it fun? We know about it. So it's
only an astrologer would say, isn't it fun that that we're having all these technical difficulties during a Mercury retrograde?
I'm an Aquarius. What do you want, Look at you, Super Virgo.
Right?
All right. Are you with me? Are you with me, Heather? Have you got Julie's chart?
Well, you just go for it. Oh. There we go. Oh, I think I found it. Okay.
Oh.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Well, Julie, have you ever had a reading done at all? Do you know any of astrology?
You know what? A friend of mine had done a chart for me, but it was like a long time ago, and since I'm not an astrologer, I really don't know how to read it properly. So it's kind of, I'm not really up on this, so I'm going to say no.
Interpretation is pretty key. Yeah. And, if I were doing a reading with someone that's longer than 5 minutes long, I'd probably go through things a little more sequentially just to kind of let you all know that. These are just little tasters. But I like to have an idea of someone's astrological knowledge because some people know a lot about it, it just depends. But I love newbies, too. So you're a Virgo, which you probably know. That's where the sun is when you were born. And then we also, like the kind of the building blocks of your chart are your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. And your rising sign is what's on the first house cusp. And those three things can tell us a lot about you, especially when you look at how they're impacted by the other elements in your chart. So your sun is in Virgo, and you have a lot of other Virgo energy too. So if you read sun sign columns, you probably relate to it pretty well. Sometimes if all you have is your sun there, you're like, what? Astrology doesn't work, But you have a lot of Virgo. And then your moon is in Sagittarius, so you can relate to Heather. You probably like her emotionally.
Yes, I do.
Yes, your moon is, that's your emotions and what helps you feel secure and what feels good to you. And then your rising is in Scorpio, which is fun because I have a Scorpio rising too. So it's great that you showed up. I love how that's an example of resonance too. So with your Virgo, your sun is also in the 11th house, as Heather's is. So you probably are really drawn to your friends, potentially the internet, groups of people, potentially humanitarian type things. Does that sound right?
Yes, absolutely.
But in an earthy way, because Virgo is so practical. And you're in that 1960s generation that has Uranus and Pluto together in Virgo next to your sun, no less. And to me, that is the hallmark of that 60s generation of we're going to create change and revolution. So that's very much a part of who you are. And yet there's something there that is challenging for you and hard for you because you have Chiron, which is your wound, opposite those things, and Pisces. So there's actually, I don't know if you know this, Heather. This is so interesting. I was noticing a lot of clients have this, and me and my other astrologer friends were talking about it, is this Chiron-Uranus opposition. So many people have this, and it, to me, signifies really people who are the way showers in the New Age, people who growing up were maybe a little different, maybe a little quirky, that Uranian thing, that Aquarian type thing, and it gave them a wound somehow. That's why Chiron is opposite that Uranus. And what happens is now, as we're heading into, as we're in this new millennium and we're going into the new paradigm and like everything is changing, Chiron is a wounded healer. We become the mentor. That becomes a strength. So all of us that kind of grew up feeling a little weird or different or off, that is now the strength. Does that feel right to you, Lily?
Thank goodness. Of course it does for me. And back to Julie's, your question, Julie, that she has the Sag moon. She probably loves Heather. Really, either love me or hate me. I've learned that in my life.
I really like you, Heather.
Thank you.
I don't think people that hate you would be calling. Well, maybe, but that would be a different call, right?
It would certainly be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not trying to encourage such things. Julie, thank you so much for calling. I need to grab one more call, and then we're off air.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. For those of you who might be interested in learning more about Terri and her work, because she is quite good at what she does, especially on the fly, go to my website, www.indigolifedesigns.com. Click on radio show. Her gorgeous pictures there. If you click on that, they'll shoot you over to her website, and you can learn more about her. Maybe book yourself a reading. I understand she does take donation readings. So, and, be mindful of the value of such services when you do donate for that. And we're going to bring Cheryl on, and we've got about 5 minutes, Terri. So let's look at her chart real quick, give her a quick reading, and then we're off. Cheryl, Are you on?
I am.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Hi. Good to talk to you all.
Good to talk to you too.
Pardon?
Good to talk to you as well. Where are you calling from?
Thank you. I live in Maryland.
Okay. And what's your birth date?
It's November the 20th, 1946. I was born in Washington, D.C. at 3:56 a.m.
3:50 middle of the night, baby.
Yeah.
And
3:56.
are you... I can't type that fast.
Yeah, I'm doing like the Jeopardy music. Do, do, do. Well, I'm holding my phone, too. That's the problem. I can type faster when I don't hold on to something.
And now I've got...
Oh.
David sending me...
her in Yemen. My software. Here we go with Mercury.
Why in the world can't we... There we go. Jeez. Mercury.
Yemen. I love that Yemen was like the default.
Here's
Obviously, Cheryl was born in Yemen.
Oh, clearly.
Nope, I don't think so.
November 20th.
Maybe some other.
November 20th, 46 at 3:56 a.m. Washington, D.C., correct?
That's correct.
Okay, well, we've got a Scorpio sun.
Yep.
We've got a Libra. Do you have the chart pulled up, Terry?
I do.
Go for it.
Libra moon and Libra ascendant. Do you have a specific question, Cheryl? Because since we want to maximize time, is there anything specifically that you're wondering about or curious about?
Yes, I want to know the significance of having the moon on the ascendant in the 12th house.
I'm very sorry. I can't believe this is happening.
I think your dog is retrograde, too.
My dog is clearly, this is like unbelievable.
Oh,
Please
this is
just tell them to leave. Please just tell him to leave. I'm sorry.
Now we've got drama over at Terry's. Oh, and it's only an hour show.
Should I repeat the question?
Yeah. Moon and ascendant, something about it? I'm sorry.
Yes, I wanted to know the significance of my moon being on it's conjunct with the ascendant in the 12th house, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Your moon is indeed very close to your ascendant, within like 30 degrees there. To me, what that always says is that it's like you wear your heart on your sleeve, you know? But your moon is still in the 12th, so sometimes maybe a little hidden. However, it's so close to the ascendant, a lot of astrologers would just say that's right on the ascendant. You know, it's almost like your emotions are what you see is what you get. Someone who has their moon somewhere else, it's like they're not showing their emotions, they're showing something different, because your moon is your emotions and your ascendant is what you show, what your personality is.
And I would think that would be a little bit of a dilemma, being of strong Scorpion energy.
Scorpio.
Yeah, not wanting to wear your heart on your sleeve and have those deep feelings revealed. Is that true for you?
Yes, it is.
A little bit, but she's also got Uranus trine that moon and ascendant. So she, this goes back and forth. Like, she wants to put it out there and be very authentic, right? I would say, yeah. Like emotionally. Interesting.
Well, and that's going to be an interesting natural psychic insight to your emotions. So you've already got the Scorpio thing going on, where you can penetrate into somebody's soul just by looking at them, and then I mean, really, and then to add the trine from Uranus, which is like electricity energy for those learning this language. Trine is a positive aspect hitting that moon. Technically, 12th house, right on the ascendant. Yeah, that would be very psychic insights naturally. And, you're calling into this show. So you're clearly connected and interested and know what we're talking about. And we actually, Cheryl, have to say thank you for calling and let you go, because it's time to wrap the program. I am so sorry.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling.
All right.
Terry, that's
bye-bye.
it. The hour has come to a close.
I'm sorry you all had to meet my dog like that.
This has been quite an adventure this last hour, and I expect nothing less with these planetary alignments and a quirky Aquarian like yourself. A beautiful Aquarian.
Oh, bless you.
So, my producer just sent me a message that says, this has been a crazy day. Yep. Okay, I'm wrapping it up. Terry, thank you so much for coming on the show. Hopefully you'll come on again. I had a wonderful time. If you'd like to get a reading, you can get a by donation reading with Terry. Go to my website, www.indigolifedesigns.com. Click on the radio show tab. find Terri's gorgeous picture there. I'll leave it up for a few days so you can head over to her website and book yourself a private session. And on that note, to all my family, friends, fans, and foes, good night.
You've been listening to the Heather Horton Hour. Tune in next week and every week at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific for more from your favorite voice for the stars.
You are listening to Paramania Radio.